And we're live. Jason, what's the best or worst advice you ever got?
The worst thing you could do for productivity as a business owner is fill your schedule up wall to wall with tasks and think you're being effective.
Wall to wall with tasks. Why is that not effective?
It kind of takes over your brain. If there's no time left for thinking and strategizing and just downtime, recovery time, right? Um, this is going to get full of wool and you're not going to be able to do anything creative.
So creativity. Why is that important as a business owner? What isn't it just like let's go and get stuff done?
I think at the very beginning, yeah, that's the fun of a new business, right? Charging into it, figuring it out, setting things up, doing things for clients and customers, right? But then after a while, if that's what you're doing, you're not really being a business owner. What you've done is created a job for yourself, and that's a real problem.
So when you're talking to agency owners, when you're talking to
Mhm.
folks like that, you're really and they talking about getting them beyond the one, right? So it's not just one plus an employee,
Right.
one plus an assistant, right? It's bigger than that, scaling up. Is that right?
Right. That sounds very sensible to me. And not just scaling up, but like getting your time back, right? I find that when agency owners get to that 20, 30, $40,000 a month range, that's really when it starts to hit. They have a lot of freelancers, a lot of people, right? A lot of responsibility. And yet they tell me they're stuck right, in the business and they know they need to get out of it. They know, but they don't know how.
Okay. Okay. So we're calling this the fast shortcut to productivity because that's also the title of your book.
That's right.
Haha, look at that, right? But let's
Yeah.
let's start by let's define productivity. What is productivity to Jason Kanigan?
Woo! Okay, so this would be different from the 2014 version of Jason. I've been doing this a long time, just like you. Hi, Phil. And that version of Jason would have had the calendar filled wall to wall with clients and not really getting anywhere and exhausting. In the meantime, I've learned from great people like yourself, and in particular Paul Rolkins, who's a high performance coach out of the Netherlands, and his thing is strategic quitting. In fact, do less. Strive to do less, but be more effective. And that is the definition of productivity today. I like the definition. John F. Kennedy loved this. It's the ancient Greeks, the full use of your powers along lines of excellence. And if you're clogged up with all that wool we were just talking about, right, the junk, you're not getting to excellence.
Okay, so let's go a little deeper there.
Sure.
Strategic quitting. Like what's a typical thing that as a business owner that you can quit?
Going to the mail to see what treasure is inside the mailbox. Doing execution, fulfillment, right? Delivery of services, sales. Maybe you probably shouldn't be doing sales calls anymore if you're at that point, right? The 20, 30, $40,000 a month and up level. You should be doing something else. Um, I myself have been trying to get this book written, a larger book, for over a year now, and I've barely made any headway on it because it hasn't been the priority, right? And that's changed as of the beginning of this year. I've actually set aside a whole day a week to work on it because it's going to get done. That's being effective.
Okay. Okay, so that makes sense to me, and I can get behind that, and I can see how that happens. But you call it the fast shortcut. So
Yes.
what is one of the shortcuts? Not maybe I'm sure you're going to tell us there's a bunch of them here. So
There's
what's the
six
fastest shortcut?
six I cover in the book, and these are from the School of Hard Knocks. Nobody taught them to me in the sense of like I didn't read them out of a book. They were assembled over a long period of time, probably 10, 12 years of running my own business. And this is after an operations management, real world education, and 15-year corporate executive career. They didn't teach me this stuff, right? Let's see. The thing that I was written about in Inc. magazine and Business Insider magazine about your golden hours. Okay, finding out and matching up when you are best to do certain tasks. So, for example, I'm a great copywriter at night. 25 years of plus of copywriting experience, made a lot of money for myself and others. If I try and do copywriting during the day, it's okay, but it ain't as good as it is at 9 o'clock at night through 2 in the morning or something like that, right? And so knowing that, I'm not going to try and put something into my calendar in a time slot that's not the right energy fit for it, right? I'm very good at grindy business management stuff in that early part of the day, 6 a.m. through about 11. I get most of my work done between 6 and 11, probably 6 and 10:30. Right? It's done. Right. And then after that, I'm doing other things, sales calls, copyright, the growth stuff that's going to impact the business. So my biggest advice for business owners, agency founders, is to look at when is your energy highest, when are you the best fit for certain kinds of activities, and then calendar them appropriately so that you'll actually be enthusiastic about doing them, which is probably half the battle, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And let's go deeper on that,
Mm,
Jason, because I think that is a big idea for a lot of folks,
mhm.
right? We think that prospects and customers, they have set hours, so I have to accommodate my time to them, right?
Right.
I have to do that. But you're saying something to the contrary there, that we need to know and match up our golden hour. So let's start with know. Is that based on feeling? Is that based on, do we measure that? I mean, how do we know what our golden hour should be?
Yeah. So what I would do is look at your calendar. If you're not recording what you're doing in your calendar, whether it's a handwritten thing, I did this for years in a handwritten diary, or in Google, what I use, the Google Calendar, right? And you can have multiple layers, multiple calendars on there, whatever, right? And send information to yourself. I would block it out by half hour and record for at least 2 weeks. What are you doing? And when are you doing it? And then go back and at the end of the day, write yourself a note. Don't rely on memory. Your memory sucks. My memory sucks, and I've got a great memory, but it still sucks. I can't remember what happened a week ago, right? But if I write a note to myself, typically on another calendar on top of that calendar, which is easy to do in Google, um, I can go back and go, okay, this was easy or this was difficult, right? After the 2 weeks, do an analysis of your calendar. And if you don't know how to do this, hire someone to do it. Pay them $100 or something like that. It's the best money you'll ever spend, right? What did I spend my time doing? Most people can't even tell you that, Phil, right? What
Yeah,
did I
that's true.
spend my time doing, right? Well, we found out, 60% of your time is in meetings. Is that the best use of your time, right? Should you be in meetings, right? Depends on the kind of meeting. Were they revenue generating meetings or were they time wasting meetings, right? Um, when did you do your email writing and stuff like that, right? What I would call the grunt work, the stuff that I'm really good at in the mornings, right? Um, did you try and do that and find it that it didn't work at the right time? Now, of course, there are some things that clients are going to hire you for that you have to do during certain times, and that's just the way it is, right? Because say it matches up with some process that they're running in their business in that certain time. If you can't influence them to change that, then you're stuck with it, and then you've got to make a decision about, should I personally be doing this at this time of day? Maybe you should be delegating that, right? Or should I even be in that business? and give that up, right? And not be doing that. A lot, again, from Paul Rolkins, a lot of this stuff, good is the enemy of great, right? I can do I want to get really good at my weaknesses, or do I want to excel at the excellence that I can bring into the world? Those few key things, right? And have somebody else take care of the rest. So look at your calendar, do that assessment, figure out where you're spending your hours, what your energy patterns look like, and after a couple of weeks, you'll have a lot of information about yourself. Hardly anyone wants to do this, Phil, and it's not even that hard. It's not like it's that hard work, and I wish they would do it. You'd learn a lot
Yeah,
about yourself in doing that.
yeah, absolutely. So slow down. If you're listening
Hmm.
here, slow
Yeah.
down and actually assess your day, your
Hmm.
hours, your 30 minutes, and think about, is this easy or is this
Hmm.
hard? Is there a better time to do it?
Right.
Does it need to be done at all? Does it need to be done by me? Really good questions. And then you say match up those golden hours. So we take,
Right.
if I'm, you mentioned you're really good at copywriting in the evening.
Right.
Okay. So you push then those sorts of tasks to the
Mhm.
evening. Is that, am I getting that right,
Right,
Jason?
right. I'm not
Okay.
going to try it during the day. I know that now, right? I'm not going to get as good a result as I would in the evening. No.
Awesome. Awesome. So you've been working with agencies a lot. You've helped
Yeah.
them determine strategy. Operational excellence actually is one of the things that you and I kind of vibe on
Right.
at first,
Right.
right? With that and process engineering. And then that sales and conversion optimization, which is
Hmm.
important. So which of those do you see that agencies are needing the most assistance with these days?
That's a good question. I find, Phil, that there are two categories, right? I don't know if it's one or the other. Startups really have a problem with sales, right? They haven't got a clue how to attract their ideal customer, and then when they get one sort of on the hook, they don't know what to do to turn them into a buyer. And they seem to not realize that this is a process that can be turned into something consistent, repeatable, measurable, and then you can work on to improve, right? Um, then we get into the folks who, like the guy in England I talked to this morning, who's running a very nice SEO agency that's doing at least 25K a month, and good for him. And he's charging premium prices, much higher than I've seen most agencies have the guts to charge. And he's getting clients, right? But his problem is on the fulfillment side. Right, he's having the McDonald's hamburger problem, right? That it's not coming off the end of the production line at the same quality level as it always should be, depending on which freelancer he's using. So that guy, um, he needs consistency, right? He needs coaching on how are we going to get this and hold people to the right standards, and also flash some red lights on the project management dashboard when things aren't progressing the way they should. All now leading back to this, right? All with the idea in mind that we're trying to get him out of the business, working on the business instead of in it. He's working a lot in it right now. So there are those two problems, and I think it might be a maturity issue. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. It's just a term, right? The business maturity level. If you're new, you're probably more looking at sales. There's always room to improve in that sales process, though, right? Always.
Yeah.
For me too, folks. I am no exception to any of this, right? I have stumbled through and fallen flat on my face in just about everything you can do, and learned a lot along the way. And then as you grow, those operational fulfillment delivery issues become more prevalent, I think.
Okay, so I like what you said there, right? We're going to try to get you out of the business. We're
Hmm.
going to systematize and processize as much as we can. But then what? Like, what is a business owner to do? I mean, aren't we going to get bored as a business owner, as an
Excellent.
agency owner?
Excellent. No. Okay. I think a lot of people get into a business for one reason and they kind of forget why they got into it in the first place, right? If I've got an engine over here making me $40,000 a month, and I'm taking 5 to 10 out of that in profit out for me, right? After everything, uh, what does that enable me to do over here, right? What can I empower? What dreams have I left on the table, right? That I can empower with that fuel now, right? Again, I can take the time to go write a book, right? That could impact other people. I could start another business. This smart thing that people do is they take that money and they invest as owners in another business, right? I could take that vacation that I've always wanted to take. That a lot of people are getting tired, right? They've been busted their butt, and COVID kind of didn't help, right? And they're continuing on with their businesses, and some of them have scraped their way back, since a big fall off around 2020, right? And now things are coming back, but now they're tired. Um, and I hear what you're saying, because this happened to me in like 2017, 2018 too, with an agency that I had co-founded. Suddenly we were off the delivery part of what we were doing, and we were the bosses, right? And despite my education, despite my corporate executive experience, despite the years of running my own businesses before that, nobody had really told me what a day-to-day looked like as the CEO of a digital agency, right? They don't tell you this stuff. And like, I had run my own small business, like with a couple people working for me, but it's very different when you've got 10 or 20, right, working for you? And what do you do as the CEO? So that's a whole educational level on itself. But I will say, you're looking more at like joint venture partnerships and alignment of energy with goals with the right kind of people, right, to drive towards, and having the time and energy freedom now that you're freed up from that junk over there, right, the wool, to go drive towards those goals. And so there is a lot to do. It is change. It is different from what you were doing until now, and that can be scary for people. But I'll encourage you by saying willingness to change is one of those indicators, right? The more willing you are to change, the faster you're willing to iterate. I think the more successful you're going to be, the faster you're going to be successful as well. So the answer is, Phil, it frees you up to do all sorts of wonderful things that you probably had left on the back burner or abandoned or thought it's maybe just not going to happen in my lifetime, right? But I know for me how much freedom I've got to do what I want, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and freedom is ultimately the ultimate profit, the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate form of success. To
Right.
be able to choose what I do, when I do it, how I do it, with whom I do it. So I think
Yeah.
those are great. Well, one of the big magical things that you say in the book, though, is all about the power of unassigned time.
Mm-hmm.
So what the
Right.
heck do I do in this unassigned time that that I'm not blocking meetings, that I'm not going to sales calls, that I'm not doing that on a daily basis? You give me some great ideas on the big basis, right? But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to write a book in 2 hours.
Right. Right. It's kind of puttering time and recovery time, right? If you were an athlete, let's say an NFL football player, we would, or a hockey player, right? An NHL hockey player, even worse. We would not expect you to go out night after night after night, putting your body on the line, getting beat up, getting bruised, broken teeth, whatever, right? And like just do that into infinity. That's impossible, right? Nobody could stand up to that. And yet, as business owners, as agency founders, that's what we're doing to ourselves. We are. And so we need that recovery time, just like those athletes do. When something I read a long time ago, if you had a racehorse, would you keep it up all night smoking and feeding it drinks, right? Like, and expect it to win, right? And so I always remind myself, I'm the racehorse, right? I'm the biggest, best racehorse that I've got, right? And I will listen to myself the most if I am trained on the right signal, basically. So having that recovery time to just sit there and think and daydream even, right? There's a wonderful exercise that you can do. Set a timer for 5 minutes and get yourself a pad of paper and a pen or a pencil and start writing. If you had all the time in the world, okay, and all the resources in the world, but basically time is resources, right? If you had all the time in the world, what would you do? And for me, it's like build a castle, build a space station, build a star destroyer, right? And write a series of best-selling detective novels, stuff like that. And what will happen is these goals. You should do this every couple of weeks, at least once a month, right? They will re-energize you, and the goals will flow. Some you'll write down, I don't know, 10, 30, somewhere in there, right? Some goals will fall out of the list, some will stay on, and you'll notice these things, right? And so the energy and the joy of doing that, um, from my own journey, Phil, how much closer I am to building a space station than I was 5 years ago, right? And what I've been able to do in space and defense, right? Like, there's no way I could get something on a launch, right, 5 years ago. But now it's not that hard, right? I know who to call to get my thing on that rocket, to get it up there. So having these dreams, having this gel time, our minds are doing synthetic imagination all the time, which is putting together two ideas to make one new one, right? All the time. But you have to have that peace, that extra recovery time to give your mind the calmness to be able to do that. Right. If it is full of the 2014 Jason, oh my gosh, I got 30 clients and they're all demanding things and my energy split in all those directions. And I'm not effective, really. I'm not really helping anybody. Your mind is never going to have that downtime except the 2 minutes in the shower to plop out a great idea for you, right? So that's where this gel time comes in really handy. It's kind of hard to talk about, right? We're not used to talking about it. It's much easier to kind of grab onto the details of some technical thing that you're supposed to be doing or whatever, right? And feel like, oh well, I accomplished something. I got through my to-do list. But the fact of the matter is, Phil, when we're on our deathbed, right? We've all seen that. Gee, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. Is not something people say, right? And that's the same thing as the to-do list, right? It's like, no, let's control the quality of what's on our to-do list, right? And the older I get, the more and more of that comes sharply into focus, right? What's getting on the to-do list and what do we need to just drop? And in order to be an effective agency owner, you've got to start dropping things from your to-do list. And that's perfectly fine. You're not being a loser. You're not ratting anybody out. You're not letting anybody down, right? If you've managed it, right? And it frees you up to do the excellence things that you could be doing. But right now, you're clogged up with all this nonsense. So I'm going to stop there for a sec.
Yeah, well, so I was just going to say, lots of great strategies there, lots of great tactics we can do. But what are some of the pitfalls, Jason? Like, what's going to happen if we don't do this? And what are some of the obstacles that might come in our way if we instead take the scenic long cut and don't get productive and effective soon?
Do you mean like as in not cleaning up the quality of the to-do list? Okay, so we're gonna get old and not have taken a run at the cool projects that we could have done, right? Instead, we will be very good at mediocrity. Let's put it that way, right? And I, for one, don't want to be great at mediocrity. I want to be excellent at a few things and suck at everything else, right? And that's perfectly fine. I'm a pretty broad skill based guy. None of it's ever really helped me that much, right? It's kind of nice, but hey, I'd rather be known for something. So getting again to the end of our lives and not getting anywhere. The other thing is on a more practical level, Phil, if you want to ever sell this business, it can't be based around you. You cannot be the core Energizer Bunny battery, right, of the business. Otherwise, the valuation is going to be very low, and you're going to have this exaggerated opinion of it, right? And then when a business broker or somebody actually tells you what the business is worth, it's going to be sad for you, right? You're going to be shocked at how low it is. And I see this all the time. I see 70-year-old business owners whose kids want nothing to do with it, right? They grew up with it and they're like, I'm so sick of hearing about this, right? That owner, that founder wants to pass on generational wealth, but they can't get out of the business because they are too integral to the doing of the things, right? And so by doing what I recommend in this book, these 6 things, you're going to back off of that. You're going to get out of that. That's going to be all process written down, right, for somebody else to do, like the McDonald's employee who comes in and flips the burgers, right? And the burger comes out the same, whether it's in Paris, France, or New York, right? Or Bangkok, Thailand, right? That burger is going to be the same. That's really what we want. This book doesn't get into that process engineering stuff, but it gets you into the position where you could apply that, right? Because you're no longer touching it. So I think that the biggest pitfall is just as an agency owner, creating a trap for yourself, creating a job for yourself instead of the wealth generating business that you really came into it for. Even if you didn't define it that way, the ways to have fun, to play, to impact other people, right? To shine your light as an individual. It'll get clogged up and stuck sort of in this one shape, and it could be doing a whole bunch of other things. And you have an agency that's making money over here. I do warn people, because I've done this myself, don't fall in love with your business. I don't recommend it. Right? Have a passion for it, be excited about it. But if you fall in love with your business, it can do things to your marriage, your relationships, right? And it's at the end of the day, we're here to be with other humans, not Smaug the Golden counting our gold coin pile by ourselves, right? That's not a lot of fun, even for the introverts. They still want to share things with people.
Awesome. Awesome. So lots of great stuff there. Lots of great stuff inside the book. The fast shortcut to productivity, Jason.
For
Good
agency
stuff
owners.
for those
Yeah.
agency owners, right? So where do they find it? Where can they get connected more with you, Jason?
Yeah. So you can find me anywhere. Recommend going to jasonkanigan.com. That's going to take you to everything. The books that I've written are listed there as well on that webpage, and you get a pretty good idea of who I am and what I do. There's 3 videos along the bottom linked to, including the last one that I did with Phil. So where we talked about sales and culture and effectiveness and things like that. But also it'll link to this book on Amazon. So this book is on Amazon Kindle. It is a short read, and I want to emphasize that. I could have written a 150-page book on productivity. Nobody would read it. And if they did, they'd be going through, trying to go 60 pages back to find an idea, right, that they think they kind of remember. This book is under 30 pages, Phil. I want people to use it. I want people to get it, read it in an hour and a half, and start applying what's in there, and not have really complicated things shared in there. Just straightforward, effective strategies, 6 of them again, that if you apply them, frankly, if you apply 2 of the core ones, you would be way better off than most founders out there, right? Who are just hit by the tsunami of this stuff, right? Of day-to-day things to do. Another thing that I recommend is go to my channel on YouTube, just Jason Kanigan. And I've been making a series of effective, ethical prospecting videos. So how to do outreach in a way that doesn't make you feel gross. I don't like this jumping into direct messages and then flipping it. Suddenly it's a sales conversation thing. And I've got an effective way. There's probably 50 videos uploaded there right now. It's a really great series. They're quick videos, but it's ongoing. I'm still adding to it. And that will give you a really great flavor of who I am and what I can do. And as you know, Phil, I've got the Sales on Fire training program that has been training salespeople and founders for well over 10 years now. And I keep adding to it. So it's just this huge thing now. So let's start there. If you go to jasonkanigan.com, then that will get you 90% of the way there.
Awesome. So folks, if you want to get to know Jason Kanigan more, if you want to learn more about his book, The Fast Shortcut to Productivity for Agency Owners, you want to get some sales on fire, you want to learn more about any of the stuff that Jason knows, you go to jasonkanigan.com. That's JASONKANIGAN.com. Jason knows lots of stuff. I always learn a lot when I get to spend time with him, and I always appreciate the insights. Thank you so much, Jason. Congrats on the book, man.